Hello guys, Major Colton here with another build tutorial, and today I thought I'd go all out and give you guys my personal build that you guys have seen me use in the majority of my most recent videos that have to do with Armored Core. Well, let's get to it. Like after just do a little spin around, get you to take an eye full of, just take a look at it up close, and alright. Let's take a look at the parts first. First off, with the legs, you're going to want to start off with the Ukafune Model 2s. The reason why I use the Model 2s instead of the Model 3s when it comes to my Fortress Quad, because if you take a look right here at the turning performance, they have a lot more turning performance, and in the heat of combat and high-end play, that turning performance will mean a lot, because when you're using those Ukafune Model 3s, they barely can turn. You're just so slow, then it's so easy to exploit it that there's no point in having the armor if someone's just going to hover behind your head, and this is good enough to block out everything. The only reason you'd want to do this is if there's a way you can do it to block out Tanzis and Strakosas, but it is not really viable because you are so slow for close to mid-range combat. And for the arms, I'm using the Animus arms, the AD228 arms, the dual shoulder unit T arms, the better ones. And you want to use these just so you can have, for the reasons of dual shoulder units and for TE armor. As for the core, the CB209, you do not want to use the Haikyubo. As you can see, putting the Haikyubo on, it's just pretty much red and all the stats, really. It's like no reason at all to use it. Doesn't even help you in the armor, because the armor, the way I have it set, is literally point for point enough to block out a fully powered spec Strakoza CE wise. As for the head, the Kagaribi Model 1, you want to use this for your TE head. It's not the most defensible. If you wanted to go for like straight defense, you'd use the Lenny Scarlet over here. But there's really no point in using it because you're not going to really buff anything extra out. And if you use this, you'll get a lot of stability added. Like this helps way with your stability, and it's just a really amazing TE head. I love this head for TE head. It's great on it makes a good thing for any quad. And let's get to the internals now. As for the internals, I use the FSL E28, and that's because it has the a 19 lock-on size, massive reticle, and you can see I'm using a Tanzia and a Strakoza up front without subs, so that massive reticle keeps an enemy in it long enough that you don't need them. It's got the 250 lock-on range, so it's good for close to medium long range, like to short long range. I guess if you guys know what that means. A lot of computation or standard guns, not the greatest, but it works. Like, trust me, or else I wouldn't use it. Missile lock computation 160. Now that comes in real handy with the shoulder units because I'm using the dual shoulder units of VDFs, which really puts out a lot of DPS. Not just like damage per second, but just like raw damage. It's just puts such a hurting on them that really, if they don't know what to do, if they don't have any way to dodge them or shoot them down with C-Wiz, they're just having those missiles alone can help tip the tide of battle. As for the generator, I use the GED G23 on this specific frame, simply because for its energy output. And for the boosters, I'm using the BA214s. And some people might say, why not use the Shinatsus right here, or in this game the BA309, so that you can see I lose like 1k energy recovery, and as a quad I need my energy recovery, barely get any extra speed, and really the all-around movement is just kind of slower on this frame. I mean, like, it wouldn't be, I mean, I would rather probably use the Shinatsus right here if I had a little bit more energy recovery, and if I was like a midweight or a heavy or something like that. But with this quad, it's just not, these are really better. If you want to get even more energy recovery, the ones above them are even more. The only thing is their high boost power, it's really actually not that much different. High boost, their high boost powers on all three of these really aren't that different, so I would recommend using the 214s or the 124s. I would say use the 124s if you're feeling like it's a little awkward. Like, if you're having a hard time managing your energy correctly, and use this as like training wheels until you get better at it. pretty much. As for my recon units, I have the oscillatory model 1s on because they have the 380 recon range, so really good range for scoping out your enemy spots, figuring out where they are, and planning accordingly, or scanning their armors at a range where they can't scan yours, because as a quad they're going to try and see which of your things is the lowest, because they have to pretty much scan you, because they know if they don't, they're just going to be wasting time and health, because they're not going to be doing damage if they run in with the wrong guns. And this helps you scan them far before they scan you, and make sure you have the right guns. As you can tell with the SEP I have all the max, like, extremely damaging, not the max damaging, because, you know, but have extremely damaging weapons for all 3 types, and then KE missiles that damage anybody. As for the right arm unit, you're going to want to use the AUB, A17, the Tansy. You want to use it all 3 into power. That's because the KE attack power on this baby is so massive, not many people block it out. Even a lot of Fortress quads don't even block it out, making it a really go-to gun for busting up heavies, quads. And then it's got enough muzzle that if you're fighting a mid-weight, mid to like at a one of the ones that try and keep the range like in the medium area, this is also a good thing because its muzzle velocity is actually 621. Its reload time is 70, but it hits really hard. It's basically a semi-auto sniper rifle. As for the left arm unit, I use the AUC B19, or the Shirkoza. And I alternate between using the 2 power, 1 accuracy, and all 3 in accuracy, depending on what I think I'm going to be going up against. Standardly, I use the 2 power, 1 accuracy more in more recent times nowadays, because you still retain 2,413 CE attack power, which is really enough to damage almost anybody. So unless you think you're going to be fighting like a tank or a quad, don't. Just leave it like this. If you think otherwise, buff it up. But it's got that massive damage, and then it's got 424 muzzle velocity, which is not something to bat any at. That's pretty good compared to what it starts out at 389. It doesn't look like much of a difference, but it really does make a difference. Like, help you like clip those little faster opponents, and if you don't really need the extra damage, then there's no point just to add the extra muzzle. As for shoulder units, VDFs, and you have to use the Sazanami Model 2s, because these are really the only ones that are going to, you know, work, because these other ones, their KE explosive force is where the damage is coming from, like 2,000, 1,800, 1,900. Those might seem like large numbers, but there's a lot of people in the game that actually buff them out nowadays. And even still, even if they don't, their missile guidance is like complete crap, so you're not going to hit anything at all. So really don't use any. If you're going to use any VDFs, use these. If you're not going to use VDFs and you want to use CE missiles, I'd say use these, but you'll have to rearrange one of the weapons to a lighter weight one. Or I would say I would say don't rearrange them, and then use, which one was the, I would say use these. I would say use the Jupiters if you wanted to, like, you know, mix it up a bit, because not a lot of people have TE defense here recently. I'm really hoping that changes when everyone starts going back to heavy weapons, heavy armor back when the first half of the game, and how it was a lot near the end of Armored Core 5. Because I really don't like fighting dual gats, because builds like this, they're a lot harder to use and a lot ballsier to use whenever you know people are bringing dual gats and Kurosawas all over the place. And really you want to use these because they're basically like TE style, like VDFs. They have the area of effect explosion, much larger radius though. And you're really gonna be likely to get effective damage. You're just a little less likely to get effective damage because you won't get it on heavies and, you know, like heavies and tanks and stuff like that. But like quads, don't even think about it. These missiles will bust a quad up before they even know what happened. But the VDFs will do the same thing, and the VDFs have more diversity in their targeting. And as for the right bay unit, I choose the AM Shah 207 KE shield. And you might be wondering why I use the 207 instead of the 109, or instead of the 302s. The reason I don't use the 109 is because, well, you don't have as much KE defense. Like, it'll have enough for a majority of what you're doing, but there's really no point in choosing it because it's just an inferior shield in all stats-wise. And that's pretty much my argument. It's just not a good shield when you have this unlocked. And why you wouldn't want to use this is because, well, even less KE defense. I mean, you get, some people might say you get more AP, but it's not really gonna, that's not the point of having the KE shield on something like this. The point of having the KE shield is, I mean, I got enough KE to block out most KE weapons. I mean, with this shield right here, you don't have AP, but you don't have the armor to block out what the shield would be used for, like snipers and cannons. And this one is just a lesser version of the one I'm using. And the reason I use this one is because it's got enough KE defense to block out snipers, cannons, rail cannons, like KE missiles. If they're using any of these things, like if they got a dual cannon tank, they got dual GATs, they got dual snipes, you're pretty much invincible. Just if you could just whip this out, and then you can just go to town, have this out at the same time, especially if they're a dual snipe. That really pisses off snipers that that only bring dual snipes and don't bring any weapon to, that's another thing. If you're gonna bring dual snipes, you gotta bring some kind of KE shield busting weapon. Like, if you don't in this kind of a game, you're fucking stupid. But AUL K37, the 12-shot Kurosawa, put all three of it into power. The reason I use this one is because it's got a lot of damage, and I got a lot of rounds, so I don't blow out all my ammo right off the bat on one guy, and I can have much more of a sustained battle. I'm not just like blowing out all my firepower right out of the gate. And that's the frame, but let me go and show you guys exactly how I play around with this kind of a build. Alright guys, first off, when I know that an enemy's a little bit of ways away from me, try and gain a little altitude, pop out the shield and the Kurosawa, charge it up. As they're coming in, hit them with the VDS and the Kurosawa. Do this to them for a little bit, wear down their AP. They're still struggling taking off my shield. Now by the time they finally taken it off, they barely have any health left. And then if you want to, you can just keep up with that. If you want to you don't want to play any games, you just want to fucking kill the guy right then and there, you're not playing around. Or, I mean, you could also, like, just whip out the normal guns if you're feeling more of a pitched close to quarters combat. Like, let's say you've already used all of your Kurosawa. Let's say that's already gone. And now let's say you also don't have your KE shield. So you're going to want to do like really quick strafing like so. And then whenever you fire your VDS, try as much as you can, even if you got to drop your boosters kind of like that, so that whenever you fire them, that their bullet doesn't skewer through all your missiles. Because VDS fire pretty much straight out of your chest, so any gun in the game can pretty much shoot them down. As you can see, I'm just kind of drop-shotting with my VDS, kinda. And I took a little bit more damage, probably like 3k more than when I had used the other method from a while ago. Really, there are multiple methods to way and use this. I mean, just because I use the frame I use, you don't have to do the tactics I do. I'm just showing you what exactly how I use it. And I have trained probably a couple different people on frames like this. Started them from the bottom players, they were pretty scrubby, and then trained them on stuff like this with my Unax that you guys can get off my channel, and pretty much made them into really great players, quite honestly, because these things have a lot of potential. Builds like this have a lot of potential because you're pretty much like, kind of like in Dark Souls, if you just like slapped on Havel's armor and Havel's shield, have a lot of endurance, you know. You guys that have played Dark Souls know that pretty much when you do shit like that, you can just take hits from a boss and then you just don't even take damage. I mean, these things do take damage. Don't feel like you're invincible when you're these, because you have to keep in mind that your thermal defense, even though it's pretty nice, you do have a large hole in it when it comes to laser rifles. While the armor itself is good enough to buff out most pulse guns, in general, except for the most powerful pulse gun. If you see someone having that, your best bet is to do like this and kind of just, you know, like backpedal them pretty much. And try and do like try glide boost and quick boost simultaneously. Try and stay really close to your enemy. Try and be constantly circling them if you're going to be planning on doing close quarters combat. And as for the other armors, I failed to mention it because it should be pretty obvious. Buffs up all the way to Strakozas, CE wise. No CE missile's gonna damage it. TE wise, buff out all PMGs. They'll buff out more than half of the pulse guns. And KE wise, they'll buff out every rifle but the Tansy. And snipes, because I got so much KE, will only probably do like 1k damage unless you're using a Zlatko, which in case you do 2k damage. But there you go, guys. There's my baby. There's my main AC I've been using since this whole entire patch. King's Pride is the name of the AC, in case anyone was wondering. And really, I'm thinking about also putting out another video kind of similar to this, with an AC similar to this I just made recently. That's really a blitzkrieging fortress squad. But if you're interested in seeing that video and some other videos I posted, then obviously you should comment, like, subscribe, and just check out some of my other build tutorials. I also have emblem tutorials. I also have UNAC tutorials. And I also have a few other things that you'd probably like to see, as well as, you know, just bukus of Triple S clan battles since the game came out, against pretty much anyone worth mentioning. And then I've also been doing a few other videos. Got some horror game videos. Got some Destiny beta. I got this other game called Strike Suit Zero, which is a lot like Armored Core Forancer in space, pretty much. Speaking of Forancer, I also have a playlist of an Armored Core Forancer tournament. Now, if you guys like watching really high-speed combat, and you like watching it like with mechs, then I really recommend going and watching that tournament. Just go to my playlist, check out the Armored Core Forancer tournament playlist, and just go check it out, and you won't be disappointed. I know last time I mentioned this in a video, one guy went and watched the entire thing in one sitting. But as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.